Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and you all know that I am so biased when it comes to our marketing episodes. Why? Because I genuinely believe, and I know that marketing is the lifeline for all of our businesses. This is how we actually grow. If you're not out there getting found by new customers and clients, then your business isn't growing. And today's guest has just as much energy as I do when it comes to her love for marketing. And what I really appreciate about this entrepreneur and guest is that not only does she love marketing because of all the powers that it has, but she loves the results and the growth that it brings for her clients. So let me tell you all about today's guest. Her name is Leslie Youngblood. With over 19 years of experience in advertising and marketing, content creation, and business development, Leslie has helped transform companies from local startups to nationwide impact makers using innovative marketing efforts while driving optimal business outcomes. Her company, Youngblood MMC, stands for Youngblood Marketing, Media, and Content, and her team delivers high-level brand and marketing services to growing businesses across the United States. They're bold, they're high energy, I can attest to this already. They're creative thinkers who love to bring brands and businesses to life and scale their bottom line goals. Their creativity is boundless, their grit is undeniable, which is such a core entrepreneurial trait, and they always provide results. And this is a fun one for me because Leslie's used to being on the other side of the microphone. She, once upon a time, interviewed other entrepreneurs and business owners on a weekly podcast, so it's really fun for me to host Leslie in today's episode. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Leslie Youngblood. All right, Leslie, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Heck yes. I think our only challenge today is going to be keeping it to 30 minutes because there's a lot of good stuff we're going to get into. Before we do that, Leslie, take us beyond the bio. Who's Leslie? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Sure. I'm Leslie Youngblood. I'm a proud mom of 3 boys. And so they inspire me every day. They're one of the reasons why I decided to start Youngblood MMC. But I've always loved writing. That's really kind of where my origin story starts. As a kid, I loved writing stories. My siblings and cousin and I had a magazine, Shout Magazine. We made movies. So I was always creative growing up and really found advertising when I was going into college. And I was going to study English at Michigan State University, go Green. And I was in like a introduction to the Com Arts College, and I heard about advertising and you could be a copywriter. And I was like, wait, you can get paid to write for a living and have fun? And so it was really, I was so fortunate to stumble upon it because I just knew right away it was the place for me to begin my career and continue my career all over these years, and fantastic experiences, fantastic people. And so really excited to be doing it on my own in our own unique way now with Youngblood MMC.
Yes, I love that overview, especially no wonder why you and I naturally connect. It's because of that love for writing, because that's the power of words, is that words can, I'll extrapolate, words can move mountains, words can move nations, right? Words can do so much. Talk to us about that love. I want that to be the basis of how we start to talk about advertising and marketing. Yeah,
that's so spot on. I always felt like I said, as a kid, I was writing and I was curious and I was creative and I feel like whether it's writing or it's art, it's really the way people express their soul, right? And how we can kind of tap into our unique gifts. And so writing has always been a gift for me. I almost feel like it's a compulsion. My kids love Alexander Hamilton, the musical, and they always make fun of me and call me Hamilton because I'm writing all the time, I'm working all the time. And it's not that I'm a workaholic. I'm just so inspired to capture things and explore ideas. And so the way also too, like you said, Brian, the way that writing brings people together, whether it's a book, whether it's a song, whether it's a movie, it is just so profound and it moves me deeply and it honors me to have that gift and be a part of an industry that also harnesses that to do good for businesses and other people as well.
Yeah, for sure. Leslie, hearing your exuberance for all of these things makes me think about the fact that not all writing is equal. And I would argue that part of your love for it is the human emotion that goes into it, the way that psychology, I mean, there's so many layers to successful copywriters that always stands out to me. Talk to us about that difference, because you also love business, and I so appreciate that about you. What's that difference when it comes to writing that just people read and scroll right past, which we all see on social media, versus the writing that captivates us and does spark that action?
Right. That's so interesting that we're talking about this, Brian. Yesterday, a friend of mine on LinkedIn wrote a post about AI and AI writing, and whether it's AI or whether it's a human, you still have to capture that emotion and cause somebody, stir something in somebody to get them to pay attention. And I love the opportunity that AI provides, but to me, it's also like a blueprint for writing, right? And then you take that blueprint and you build a house, or you build that plan, or you build that post or script, or, taglines, et cetera, right? Like, you have to bring it to life too in that way. And so in this digital age, I think people crave connection even more. But then I also feel like tale as old as time, whether it's AI, whether it's the internet, whether it's TV, radio, et cetera, there's always going to be technology and innovation that gives you an opportunity to tweak how you're able to connect with people. And writing is still at the core of that. And so, emotion and that human to human connection, that's one of the things I love about working with our hospitality clients at Youngblood MMC, is it's not just about food. It's not just about drinks. It's about giving them an experience, about, giving them something unique and different that impacts their lives in a special way.
Yeah, so well said. I love the fact that you called that out. It's the tale as old as time. I feel like being a podcast host, I know how many listeners want to hear about the cutting edge technologies. Every conversation, you and I will inevitably talk about AI here today, but at the end of the day, humans are humans, and people have been buying and selling things for literally centuries, probably thousands of years before us. So with that said, Leslie, let's really broaden this conversation right here and talk about, what is marketing? You must see marketing in so many different shapes and sizes. What do people traditionally think of it as? And I know that you think differently. So what's your take on it?
I think that most people consider marketing and advertising pushing something on them that they don't want, right? Like that used car salesman, or whether these commercials interrupting my show, or, my movie, or, my scroll. But to me, and this is also something when I was going into college and that really resonated with me, I had a professor, Jim Gilmore. He was actually one of the original Mad Men in Chicago. Brilliant professor. I believe he passed away a few years ago, but he really demonstrated to us that everybody and every living thing markets themselves, whether it's a flower blooming and trying to attract a bee, whether it's, birds with their feathers trying to attract a mate. It's just inherent in living things' nature to project messages. And so marketing and advertising is really, obviously taking that to a different degree. But to me, that's something that is so fascinating. It's that psychology and that really natural element of it. And so we're providing something that somebody doesn't yet know they want. And again, I'll just bring a quote. I believe Henry Ford said it. It was something about how if you asked the people what they wanted, they would say a faster horse, but we gave them the car. And so sometimes people don't realize what they want until you give it to them, or that you're in front of them offering up the solution to a pain point, or something that's making them feel the way they feel inside, or that they want to be as a person, whether it's shoes or medicine or a course or a movie, etc.
Boom. Leslie, coming in hot with some analogies that I've never heard within the realm of marketing.
Oh, really? I'm so glad.
I'm never going to look at flowers blooming the same way, because now I view that as marketing, because you're right. Yeah. They are projecting their value into the marketplace for those bees to come along and pollinate it. I love that. I also, that Henry Ford quote that you reference is one of my truly favorite quotes of all time. And I want to go there with you, because I would imagine that when you walk into businesses, you are growth hungry, and they are totally aligned with you. It's why you have such a flourishing business at this point. But I would also imagine that when you walk in, they don't know what they want or what they need. Right. They crave that growth. What's that assessment period look like? When you look at a business that you're beginning to work with, how do you start to make sense of their landscape so that you can prescribe the right things for them?
Yeah, I think that it's first going really deep and learning that business and really becoming an advocate for that business before you even pitch an idea, right? And I think that should be true for anybody. You don't want to work with somebody that you don't believe in or a product you don't believe in. And so I'm very much a believer in that, is that I need to feel excited and connect to the businesses that we work with, because then I can truly become that brand advocate and put myself in the consumer's or guest's shoes of that business. And then it can be difficult, because as you can tell, I'm very excitable and I see the potential. That's something that I love, is the potential in so many businesses. I can see where they can go and they're here. So how do we see that they can go here, but they have to understand in the right way how to get from here to there, because you don't want to overwhelm them. You don't want to confuse them. You want them to feel like it's attainable, right? You can't eat the elephant in one sitting. So how do you break it down and demonstrate that this mountaintop that I see for you, it's not some far-fetched idea. You can do it. And here are the steps to make it happen. And so really, I believe, it's really becoming passionate and an advocate for them, and then breaking, the steps down for them so they can understand and be confident in the journey that we're going to take together to get them to that mountaintop.
Yeah, Leslie, it's fun having two excitable people here on the air in today's episode, because I'm thinking about all the business owners out there that are saying, gosh, you guys, like, my business just isn't that exciting. I'm a web designer. What's exciting about web design? Talk directly to those people, because I think you and I find the excitement just in business as a whole. How do you make those types of businesses exciting so that it's fun to market them and it's fun to be on the other side of that marketing?
Sure. I think any business, no matter what you're doing, is exciting. And you have to tap into that emotion and that excitement and that desire to bring that to your customer, your core customer, your audience. I'll give you an example. Is one of our customers is Eganics, and they do biological wastewater treatment and solutions. And we always joke, how do we make wastewater sexy? Like, how do we make wastewater fun? Because me coming in and, completely never been involved in the wastewater sector before, learning the language, it's like truly learning another language, but it is so fascinating to me and so vital to our everyday existence. You don't even realize when you turn your sink on where that water goes and the painstaking steps that are taken to make that water clean again, and how it goes to the treatment plants and through the lift stations and all. It's just like it's a world hidden right in front of our eyes. And so, there's, whether it's wastewater, whether it's, a winter coat, there's something that is so inherently human and delightful about services and products. And so I would challenge any business, if they're feeling like, oh, widgets, what do our widgets really do? Whether you need to, step out of the business and take a trip or a vacation or a pause, whether you need to bring your team together and do a brainstorm, but really find what excites you about your business, and find that spark, because then it of course makes it easier for a marketer to come in and then, kind of take the baton and run with it. But I think also customers and guests feel that excitement coming through the ads. They can feel how passionate you are, and that will again just get you further in your path to success.
Yeah, I love the way you articulate that. Leslie, it feels like an invitation. I'm going to put you on the spot here and ask you something I've actually never asked a marketer, and it's a little bit more of an ethereal question, and that is, what's marketing about? Because I really see that there's three players. There's the business itself, there's the product or the service, the solution, and then of course there's the customer, and they all do this delicate, fun, creative dance together in all of our marketing. But I'd love to tap into your mind. What percent focus, or you don't have to quantify it, but how do you entertain marketing across these three players? Who takes center stage? How do you frame it? I'd love to hear the way you think about those three players.
Sure. Well, I would also say, Brian, too, there's a fourth player in there, and that's the container or the reality that all these three pieces exist in, right? And so how do you use those things? And I feel like I'm using a crystal ball and it feels kind of weird and creepy, but it's kind of true that you have this microcosm, business, audience, I can't remember the third thing that you said. Was it just the marketing, Brian?
The products.
The products. Okay, so the products. And then you have like this container for it. And how do you get, these three pieces to work together and engage and demonstrate that to them? And so I don't think one is necessary. I think that the true magic happens in between, it's in that intangible fourth character, or that like realm of which exists, and how all those pieces interact together, because you can't have one without the other. They're all intrinsically linked, and they all have to work together. And then this big magic ball that they're all in, or this globe, have to you have to kind of work with them wherever they are, however they're feeling, right? Because it changes. Business can change, human emotions can change in a dime, and you have this product that's kind of constant. And so how are you navigating? It's almost like a game in a way, which I always kind of joke that business is such a game. It's such a game. And marketing can feel like a game. And I think sometimes, not to diminish the importance of it, because it is so inherently important. And like I said, inherent to individuals and who we are, but it's also fun, and there's so many opportunities in ways to explore, how to navigate the relationship between all those three pieces, that I just can never see marketing as boring, or, oh, well, content is dead, or email's dead, text messaging is dead. Like, that to me just makes me crazy, because I'm like, what? Like, there's no way. It's just going to evolve and change, and there'll be like new little pieces added to the sort of like globe all around those pieces.
Yeah, I love the way you answered that, Leslie, because I do feel, I'm a sucker for quotes, but I feel like very often the old adages and quotes and cliches, they do a disservice by oversimplifying things. Like in the marketing world, we've all heard that quote of nobody wants a drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. And so we make it all about the features and the benefits. And that's exclusively what we focus on. But that's your creative approach, is the fact that you understand that space in between. It's that illustration. Obviously, you and I can see each other. Most listeners can't see us right now, but it's that understanding of the fact that all of this is also existing in time and in space, literally. That's why I think about some of my most successful marketing campaigns over the years have been focusing on, here's the reality, around election season, Leslie, here on the show. Yeah, we always talk about, it's election season. Don't worry about that. Focus on your business. Like,
right. Or it's, Christmas season. You have to focus on driving, getting the events at your restaurant, or it's tax season. So everybody has to worry about taxes and H&R Block, and you see all those taxes. I mean, there really is so much opportunity in time. And, sometimes, what is it, where opportunity meets preparation is luck. And sometimes you're able to just capture something, the zeitgeist, and it's not that you meant to plan it, like, but the demure, and how things go viral. You can't plan for those moments. And I'm sure, Brian, you've had clients and have talked with guests before about, you'll always have a client that wants to go viral, or a client that wants to get on TikTok and thinks it's just going to magically bring them purchases or customers, or et cetera. And it's like, okay, those things are so few and far between, and it's amazing and fun as a marketer to watch them happen. But you really, that's where in time they, it's just those little like pop-ups, right? And so to be consistent, and I really feel like consistency is key, right? In anything, incremental progress cannot be stopped. Whether you're a marketer, whether you're in business, you just have to continue. You have to be consistent. You have to pivot and learn and stay curious. And eventually, things will come together and you'll hit it.
Yes, Leslie, I want to go deeper here, because this is something I don't think we talk about enough in the world of marketing. And this is really the mindset behind marketing. You'll like this. I saw a quote the other day on Instagram that said, I've failed more times than you've tried. And I've always, I've felt that way forever, is that I've been an entrepreneur for 16 going on 17 years now. And most of my marketing efforts have failed. It's a few things that have really pushed me forward. I think most people do believe that Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you mentioned Facebook ads, Google ads, any of these channels themselves are magic pills. Talk to me about the successful marketing mindset.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, Ryan. Everybody thinks, oh, it's just got to be this, and if I'll just go viral. It's really so difficult to plan for that. And like you said, it's consistency. And I truly was just talking with my husband about this, and I was saying, you see Tom Brady, Serena Williams, these GOATs, right? And you see all like the headlines of X number of championships, X number of wins. How many games did they lose in their careers? Nobody talks about how many times they lost. We focus on the positive, and then you see, whether it's Dan Martell or, Sarah Blakely, and you see them winning, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how do they do that? I just want to do that. And you don't see when Dan Martell was, in juvie when he was like a young man, and he talks about it in his book in his thought leadership on LinkedIn. You don't see the times where Sarah Blakely was told no, no, no. And whether, that's entrepreneurship and even marketing, there are campaigns that aren't going to work, right? That may feel like a waste of time. But then I always challenge myself and clients to say, okay, this didn't work, or this is not working. What can we learn from this to iterate and improve moving forward? So how do we learn from this to change and do something else that might work? And when I feel like that, again, like releases a lot of the pressure, whether you're a marketer or a business owner too, right? It's just a series of challenges, a game that you have to continue to solve over and over again to eventually get to where you want to go.
Yes, I love the way you talk about that. It reveals so much about your approach because you're just willing to continue playing the game. You understand the parameters and you say, okay, let's try to, take as many shots as we can. You remind me, Roger Federer did a graduation speech, I think it was 2 summers ago, where he said, most people look at my 20 Grand Slams. What they don't realize is in the entirety of my career as the #1 tennis player in the world, I lost 49% of the points that I played. That's the best tennis player of all time. So it's really incredible. Leslie, I want to ask you, because you and I, we keep dancing around platforms, and I'm sure a lot of people that you talk to want to talk about platform-specific strategies. Our listeners always email us and ask, what platform should I be marketing on? So Leslie, what's your take on the platform, the channel conversation versus the overarching strategy that you put together for your clients?
Sure. Well, I think that's a great question, Brian. And I'm sure, like you said, many people are curious, right? Like, how should I want to be on TikTok? But again, should you be on TikTok? Is that where your audience is? And I'll give an example. I always like to explore channels, or if it makes sense for a client and the product and the audience, we'll include a mix, like an omni-channel marketing campaign, a strategy, right? I think that's, very effective, of course. But then when you start executing, you're going to learn what channels are performing for you over others. And if you didn't want to do that, you could also just step back and look at your target audience and say, well, what channels are they on? What is a day in their life like? Which I think is why, creating your customer archetypes is so essential, because you need to understand where they are, what they do in a day, when they're on a channel, what time they're on a particular channel, because then you can, your campaigns are more optimized. And so I'll give an example. We have a client, a live music venue in Northville, Michigan. They opened last June. We helped create the brand. We helped launch the brand. They're doing great. We're just expanding to additional days this month, actually, because it's doing so well and looking at a bigger space for it. But we were sure that that Instagram was going to be our biggest channel. Okay. And so through like a couple of months, we're looking at the data and we're seeing great engagement. So we had Facebook and Instagram. We knew that the audience and the community in that area was more of an older, married family, higher middle class type of customer. So just kind of understanding that, we're like, okay, they're probably not on TikTok. Maybe some of them are on TikTok, but really en masse, we're going to look at Facebook and Instagram for our core customer. And we learned after a few months that Instagram was not where it was at for us. And we're growing a following, we're seeing good engagement, but Facebook was blowing up for us. People were commenting and engaging and sharing and checking in. And then we were like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense because of our target audience, knowing their ages, their income, their demographics. It was like a light bulb, like, oh my gosh. So now we are then able to reallocate budget, time, energy, strategy towards the channel that was working. And so again, it's like that iteration you have to learn. And so anybody that's trying to figure out what channel to be on, I would start with 1 or 2 that you feel like is where your core customer is, and then iterate and then learn. And if those are working and you feel like you can add another one and you want to explore an additional channel, add a YouTube Shorts, add a YouTube, add TikTok. There's so many opportunities to learn and grow and iterate. You always want to be looking and understanding the data and making sure that it works. And I feel like too, Brian, what I said before is something at Youngblood MMC, we're not just going to give you a beautiful campaign. We're going to make sure it works. And if it's not working, we're going to change it. And it was something that would always drive me a little crazy when I was in the agency world is you do a beautiful campaign or you would do a postcard test. Great, signed off, client loves it. In a couple weeks, they'd be like, so which one performed better? I'm dying to know. And they'd be like, I don't know. We don't have access to that data. And I'm like, what? I must know, like, right? I just like needed to know because I was just so curious at like the outcome. Is it really driving people to your product in your doors, into your website to convert to sales? And, and I think you have to have that comprehensive view and you have to take that holistic approach to really be successful in marketing and in business.
Yeah, so let's go there because you're right. I feel like a lot of people, we see marketing happening on our TV screens, on our phones, on our computer screens, but we don't think about that very necessary bridge from marketing to business growth, tangible business growth. Leslie, what does that bridge look like? Is it calls to actions? Is it the hooks? Is it the copy? Talk to us about how to cross that bridge with our marketing.
Right. I think that's very important. And you want to be able to understand what those KPIs are that are demonstrating that it's working. And you also want to be able to demonstrate that to your client. With our hospitality clients, we've been very specific about finding channels that we can quantify. Geofencing ads is one of them, right? Because we can quantify this number of impressions, this reach, this click through, and these number of people crossed into this geofence, so we know that they came into the doors of the restaurant. So you can quantify that ROI. I think it's very, you have to find that for the industry, and the particular vertical or niche that you're in. It's going to be different for everybody, but I feel like that gives a sense of confidence and comfort, not only to you, but to your client, because they're seeing, okay, we're giving you thousands of dollars to go out and market, but I'm not seeing anybody buy. And I really think at the end of the day, the best KPI, of course, is you want to see conversion, right? You want to see a purchase. You want to see somebody come into your restaurant. You want to see a deal being made, with an organization or, B2B, have those deals going through or a pipeline, right? And so depending on the vertical and niche, I think it's very important to set up what data points matter to you, because it could be for one of our clients, they were impressed by the large number of impressions that we got, but these ads didn't convert. And so I was like, I'm surprised that you're happy with that. I think that is great. But to me, I'm concerned because out of those 100,000 people, nobody converted. So something's not following through along the way. So again, just making sure that everybody's on the same page and understands, and you understand, what your client is looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the thing. What I've found in 16 years of owning my own businesses is that if you set a target, gosh, we are determined. It was right in the way you talk about your company. We are resilient. We are gritty. We can go after those things, but we must do it with intention and we must pick those KPIs. So I really appreciate that perspective. Leslie, time is racing to a close as you and I expected, but I do want to interject AI into the conversation because a lot of people think that AI is the marketing band-aid for everybody. All of a sudden they can write copy. They don't have to embrace the things that you and I talked about. But of course, it's not that easy. Otherwise, everybody would have multi-million-dollar businesses. So how's AI play into this world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm very excited by AI. I know anytime a new technology comes, there's of course a bit of apprehension and fear, and you feel like it's going to take jobs. But again, you have to look at it. For me anyways, what's really helped is to look at it as a tool to improve and to optimize processes that we have. So instead of taking, time to do, 10 hours to do research, you can cut that in half. And then you can take all those 10 hours of research that you've done and have that organized for you in a matter of minutes. I mean, it's quite incredible, the opportunity that AI poses. And I'm like an optimist. One of my nicknames with a client is Little Miss Sunshine. But I feel like it's something that is essential in your everyday life, but especially in business, because you want to look for the opportunities. You want to look for those new ways to evolve. You don't want to be left behind. And so I think embracing it, and I would never recommend it to every client or every business. but there may be a way to interject it that makes sense. I know with hospitality clients, I was talking with a hospitality leader recently, and there's really not much like, how are you going to bring AI into a restaurant, right? Like, it's probably going to be on the back end when it comes to technology and data and the platform that you use, your CRM, where, maybe you learn all of our customers like this drink or, and so you can make more drinks that have vodka in it or what have you, right? So there are different ways to utilize AI. I think when it comes to marketing specifically, like I said earlier, I really feel that it should be used as a blueprint. I would never write me 10 headlines and then take those headlines verbatim and then share it with the client. And trust me, I've experimented with that before to see is this person smarter than me? Or is this tool smarter than me? And I've written, a campaign strategy, and then I've challenged it. I'm like, am I missing something here? And so I'll, go to ChatGPT or Claude or Periscope and, write a plan and just verify and get the validity. And I'm like, okay, I put everything in my plan that this tool just said, so we're not missing anything in here. And so I think when you can use it, as a support and not necessarily as a crutch, but something to really help you optimize and propel, your marketing, your business forward, that's when it's going to be the best. And use it as a blueprint, but not as the be all end all to anything.
Yes, so well said. That's the thing, is we can have it support us in all of our efforts. We all need more support. And I think it is that thing that can identify those blind spots. And it sounds like you use it in a very similar way. So super appreciative of you sharing that with us, Leslie. I'm really excited to hear your answer to this last question because it's super broad and I've asked it to hundreds of entrepreneurs at this point. So Leslie, that question is, what's your best piece of advice? Knowing that you are a subject matter expert in the field of marketing, but also knowing that you're one of us, you are a fellow entrepreneur. What is that piece of advice that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Yes. I recently heard this bit of advice, and it is something that has not left my mind since I heard it, but it's, you don't need clarity, you need courage. And it just blew me away, because I think we can get so focused, whether we're a business owner, how do I scale my business? And I don't understand, is this going to work? It's a horrible idea. And that can be true, right? Of a marketing, right? Of a marketing campaign or a pitch, or am I doing the right thing? And we can just bog ourselves down with doubt and questions and in our ego and our fear. We let the fear take over, but you don't need clarity. You don't need to know if it's going to work. You just need to do it. And I think that's where we as marketers and as business owners have the most success. You have to take that risk. We should be, as business owners, comfortable with taking risk, but it happens, right? The doubt will creep in, or we're having a tough, couple of months. And so then you start to question, but you just have to take that step. Just remind yourself, you don't need clarity, you need courage, and it's all going to work out.
Boom. Listeners, there's Leslie's direct call to action for you to find that courage inside of you. No matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, that's advice that can resonate with us at all of those stages. So Leslie, super appreciative of that. I'm excited for listeners to check out your brand, the work that you do. I love your website, your comprehensive list of services. It's so cool how you inject your excitement, your energy, your passion for all things marketing into the very dynamic campaigns that you put together for other companies. So drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Thank you. Yes. You can find us at youngbloodmmc.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Youngblood MMC. And please come and follow me on LinkedIn, Leslie Bailey Youngblood. I would love to connect with everybody. And I love interacting, building community, and chatting and learning from each other. So please follow us and follow some of our clients, Eganics Inc., Know Me Lounge. We're really excited to be growing them and seeing where they go in the next few years.
Yes, listeners, you know the drill. We're making it as easy as possible for you to find all of those links down below in the show notes. You don't have to go very far. Just click right on through, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. Otherwise, Leslie, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.